Alright, so are you interested or want to get into PC building? Well, this video is perfect for you because I'm going to talk about the easiest PC to build, in my opinion. And I'm pretty excited because we're building a nearly full MSI build and it's going to be in white. Now, with any PC build, it always starts with a good motherboard. This is the MSI MPG Z890 Edge TI Wi-Fi. And I'm going to be talking more about this a little bit later. But for now, let's talk about the processor. What we have here is the Intel Core Ultra 7 265K, and it has 20 cores, 20 threads, and a base clock speed of 3.9 GHz, which, if you turbo boost it, will get you 5.5 GHz. Basically, all you need to know is it's powerful, can get more powerful, and is absolutely future-proof. Now, our setup is going to be juiced up because our GPU is going to be the MSI GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Gaming X Trio White 12G. That was a mouthful. Now for memory, we have two sticks of 16GB KT Fury Renegade DDR5 6400 MHz RAM for a grand total of 32 gigs. Now for storage, we have the MSI Spatium M480 PCIe NVMe 4.0 M.2 1TB storage. Another mouthful. Now powering this all up is our PSU, which is the MSI MPG A850GF 850W 80+ Gold. And of course, for the new builders out there, for your information, the gold rating means that it's going to be super safe and consistent, so you don't have to be afraid of electrical fluctuations. You're not going to fry your precious mobile. And last, but definitely not the least, is the AIO cooler. We have the MSI MAG Core Liquid i360 in white. Of course, to stay on theme, everything has to be white. Okay, now it's time to build this bad boy up. And to show you guys just how easy it is to build this PC, well, I'm gonna have someone who has never ever built a PC in her entire life install some of the key components. My girlfriend, Bianca. So the overall aesthetic looks clean and sharp. It actually looks kind of like a Decepticon in a way. The back panel is gray, but it doesn't really matter because you won't really see this when it's in a case, but it's a nice touch. The front is a mix of white and off-white, and I'd personally consider the overall shade a sort of silverish white, which I really like. Some white setups can look a little bit cheap, but this one looks super premium. There's also a ton of heat sinks and covers that will not only keep your system frosty, because snow is white, but also helps the overall clean look because it covers up all the soldered parts. And these heat sinks are no joke. They're bricks, like thick bricks. And with the parts you're going to be connecting to this, of course that's good, because it means your system will be absolutely safe. Now, one of the first things that I really love about this motherboard is that it has a screwless design. That means that things can pop in and out without the need of a screwdriver or any tools. And that's also one of the main reasons why I believe this is the easiest mobile to build around if you want to get into PC building for the first time. When building a PC, the fear of actually messing up and destroying everything can really get to you. So when something is simple and screwless like this, it makes it that much easier. For your information, these covers are called the Easy M.2 Shield Frozer 2. And like I said, it's super easy because all you have to do is push and lift to remove it. Your main Gen 5 storage slot will have its own dedicated cover. It even has a second heat plate at the bottom for that extra cooling for your main drive. And under the bigger cover, you have 4 more NVMe M.2 slots. So that's a total of 5 slots for some of the fastest and smallest storage available, all without needing any SATA cables. And that just adds to how easy it is to set up this PC, because cable management is a bitter fight and it can be very intimidating to newer builders, especially first-time builders out there. But just in case you need it, there's 4 SATA ports in case you want to connect your SSD or an ancient HDD. Next up, we have the RAM slots, and we can sport the latest DDR5 memory as well. Plus, you have a maximum total of 256GB of RAM too. And while we're up here, you can see that the CPU power is here as well. This makes it easier to access, in my opinion, because the usual mobos I've worked with have them on the opposite side, which is technically gonna be deeper in your case. At the bottom, you can find another input for supplemental power if you want to install a second video card, and you can get up to 252 watts of supplemental power from this. Now, another thing that makes this motherboard new builder friendly is this GPU lock. Usually, you have to press on something next to the pins that can be difficult to reach depending on how big the GPU you have is. Now, all you have to do is press on a button to lock and unlock your GPU in place. There's even a cute tiny indicator so you're sure you're locked in. Another neat function is the fact that you have an LED switch in case RGB isn't really your thing. Next, the I/O shield comes pre-installed and again has a nice clean white finish. And here you can find the flash BIOS button, which is very convenient for upgrading your BIOS. And of course, I'm happy we have a clear CMOS button, which means you don't have to pry open your case and pop out the CMOS battery when you need to, as with the case of other Mobos. You get an HDMI port, 2 Thunderbolt ports, which is great because my old rig only had one. This gives you 40 gigabytes per second transfer speeds and 1 gigabyte per second guaranteed speed with an SSD. You get one 10 gigabyte per second USB Type-C, 4 5 gigabytes per second USB Type-A ports, one USB 2.0 for updating BIOS, and you know it's for this because there's a label on it, a 5 gigabyte LAN port, 4 10 gigabytes per second USB Type-A ports. It's funny to me because some of these beefed up ports are just going to be used for mice or keyboards. And of course, with this motherboard, it's in the name. We have true Wi-Fi 7, which means you can get up to 5.8 gig wirelessly. The antenna for this comes in the package, and I think it looks like a Gundam's V-fin, which means I like it. We have the optical audio connection, and of course, the mic connection and a line out. For the front panel, we have the regular connections as well, but we also have a fast 20 gigabytes per second connection with a 27 watt power charge capability, which means you can just charge your devices or phone with your PC, which is usually super slow, but not with this one. Part of what makes this motherboard easy to build is the fact that MSI put everything you need inside it, including Wi-Fi, so newer builders don't have to buy parts and attach them in post anymore. Now you know everything there is to know about this motherboard, but how well does it perform? Well, since this video is for newer PC builders and casuals, I won't get too technical with the performance tests. Straight up guys, if it can play good games well, then you know it can do everything it needs to do. So I'll be focusing on some high-end games and talking about their overall performance. This is also a good test for the Intel Core Ultra 7 265K processor. Yes, we are running a strong MSI GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Gaming X Trio White 12G, but that means nothing if you don't have an equally powerful CPU to ensure it doesn't bottleneck. Plus, more and more games and tasks these days are becoming CPU heavy. So let's get to gaming. First, I tested God of War. This game is extremely cinematic, and so I cranked up the graphics up to the absolute maximum and tested it out. On the highest settings, we have a solid 120 FPS all throughout, which is a statement on the consistency and reliability you get on a full MSI build, just like this one. The game was super responsive, even in combat, and smooth as butter, which in turn made it very, very immersive. Seriously, I had to stop myself from playing all night long because I had to test other games. Next, I tried out Black Myth Wukong, and I cranked the settings up once again to the absolute maximum. And yes, this game was, as expected, a visual masterpiece. But I noticed that it was dipping under 60 FPS during some of the heavier cinematics. Although I didn't mind as much because the graphics were just so beautiful and there was no freezing anyway. Once we got to combat, we were floating between 52 to 60 plus FPS, which is good considering how demanding this game is. Next, I tried out the recommended settings for the current system setup, and it landed me just one step lower at very high. And visually, it's like nothing changed. To the average user, you'd probably see no difference at all. Everything was still so sharp and beautiful, but FPS was now running between 65 to 70 plus FPS. And during cinematics, it would even peak above 100. All things considered, my test of the game was a visual spectacle and remained stable and consistent regardless of which settings I ran. And last but definitely not the least, I tried a fan favorite, Marvel Rivals. Nearly everyone on my timeline is playing this game. Personally, I've been using Starlord as my main. Who's your main? Let me know in the comments. As usual, I cranked the settings up once again to the absolute maximum and turned on some of the RTX features like NVIDIA Reflex to lower latency and DLSS to smoothen out edges and crank out as much frames as possible. The FPS I got on these top-notch settings were once again super high. Averaging around 100 to 120 plus FPS, this is no joke. It's a new game and it isn't even optimized. I read that some systems even struggle to push past 60 FPS on medium or high. And with performance like this, I literally got the best game I've had so far playing Marvel Rivals. And I ended the one game I played with no warm-ups as MVP, with a 37-3 overall score. Kind of a bummer that it wasn't on my own personal account though. Goes to show how much RTX game-winning features can really help out in competitive games like this one. There you have it, the easiest PC to build, or the easiest MOBO to build a PC around. Not only is this perfect for new PC building enthusiasts, but even someone with little to no knowledge about PC builds can take a crack at it as well. This means maintenance and upgrades will be super easy to do. So you don't have to take it all the way to the shop to get fixed, you can do it yourself. But will you really need an upgrade anytime soon with a build like this? Again, coupled with a powerful Intel Core Ultra 7 265K processor and the right graphics card, you are set for years. This MOBO and CPU combo has got it made. And it runs like a dream and looks absolutely stunning as well. So you might just want to pick them up and treat yourself this season and greet 2025 with a shiny new MSI-powered PC. Happy New Year everyone, and I'll see you guys around.